Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Omnichannel Marketer. This is your host, Kate Stevens, and today we have Angie Tebbe, CEO and co-founder of Rae Wellness on the podcast. Hi, Angie.
Thanks for having me, Kate.
So super excited to have you on. Why don't we just start by, telling a little bit about your background, because I think you have a really unique background coming from the retail perspective and then, moving into brand. So would love to hear your background, prior to founding Rae.
Absolutely. So I like to say that, I am now starting to live the next chapter, hopefully forever chapter of my life around wellness, personally and professionally together. And all of that stems from a number of things. One, I grew up really holistically. My mom was a nurse. My dad should have been a healer. He was in Reiki and homeopathy. So I had the cellular appreciation of world holistic wellness, growing up, that then, I kind of tucked to the side to then start my corporate work, in order for me to learn a business toolkit and really start to explore working with really smart people and seeing the world. Corporate was kind of my unlock to that. So I started at Microsoft for 2 years, and I spent 13, which is what you mentioned, 13 at Target as a private label merchant, creating brands from scratch. So in home and apparel, understanding micro and macro trends, how, when to bring them to the consumer, building teams and worldwide sourcing and supply chain strategies, and working P&Ls as you do as an operator, tops down, bottoms up, and side to side. And so, I did that for 13 years before that past that I described and how I grew up started to catch up with me. And, the universe just showed up for me at the very right moment. And I trusted it. I trusted, seeing those women in my life that acutely and proactively were not well. I trusted those people that said, when are you going to honor your late father and everything he taught you in terms of wellness? And I just trusted the timing. And so I knew that something else existed. I had no idea it was Rae at the time, to be clear, but I decided that it was the right time for me to start my next chapter around wellness. And Rae is a great start to that. It's a huge start to that. We've been live now for 3 years as a company, and it's been an amazing ride.
Our listeners a little bit more about what Rae is, you are as a business.
Yeah. So Rae is, we are a wellness company, and I like to describe us as we help everyone realize wellness should not have to be a full-time job. It should not have to be expensive, and it should be for everyone. And the beautiful thing about that for everyone is we have just an incredible community that, whether it be geography, zip code, ethnicity, wellness needs, so many things. We have an incredibly diverse community. We've served 3 million women in 3 years that have customers that have bought our product. Not always women, majority women. And so for us, really, that is the ethos and mission. We sell supplements today. Today, we are an ingestibles company. And we sell supplements to help support wellness solutions such as, sexual wellness, digestion, hormones, skin, and whole body and stress. And so we've got all these various territories that we holistically serve through supplementation.
You said you sell supplements today. How do you think about the future of Rae?
Here's what I would say is there is such a need and I learned this throughout my career, but especially as a founder and CEO, you need to be so disciplined and you need to be so specific about your value proposition and your communication to customers and consumers in your community. And so we will be ingestibles. We are ingestibles, supplements, vitamins, other things that you can ingest. There's a whole world out there, and we'll continue to serve, where she leads us. Our job is just to listen to where she wants to lead us. But to your point, we'll remain really, really focused on what we can help her ingest to support her wellness.
So unless you have, a ton of experience at Target, how did, your former retail experience kind of inform how you thought about launching Rae Wellness, what channels you launched in, and, how you started that brand?
Yeah. What my retail career taught me is a few things. One, nothing matters more than listening. And that's your job. Your job is to solely listen to the consumer, identify their needs, hear, read the data around micro, macro trends, understand how, and I would argue for the mass consumer, which is where we play, more importantly, when to bring them to the consumer. And so it taught me so much about that, listening and understanding consumer behavior and really not pushing them on places that they aren't willing to go, but really showing up for them with what they're telling you, they need. And so that was the first huge piece. And then, on the personal front, the second huge piece is what I learned is what I know, what I don't know, how to be humble, how to ask questions about what I don't know. And a lot of that came from the cross-functional work I did internally within retail. But I have to tell you, that has served me so well. I thought, you assess yourself. I'm like, oh, I've got, 80% of the toolkit to be an entrepreneur and start this company. It's probably like 20% at the end of the day. And so the steep learning curve around a number of fronts, fundraising, digital media, the landscape of what exists around what it really takes to get to to continue to climb that mountain every day. It's just been really, really different week by week, day by day, but knowing myself and being able to just say, I don't know what I don't know, and I'm going to go ask or figure it out is really what it takes at the end of the day.
You are learning so many different skills as a founder every single day. Where did Rae Wellness launch first? Were you in retail, on D2C? And how do you think about the different channels and the different purposes that those channels serve for the brand?
Yeah. Initially, so here's what I would say is, we knew the foundation of the ethos of the company. We knew kind of holistically the wellness territories we wanted to serve in the product portfolio. Business model was a huge question in how the company and our business plan and frankly, our P&L and our margin structure and how much cash it would take and all of those things. So for us, I always knew early on, and this is before omnichannel was the hype word, but I always knew that we wanted to be an omnichannel brand. And really what that meant was from the beginning, we wanted to make sure that whatever journey we chose or whatever the future brought us, we truly didn't care where she converted or where they could. Mm-hmm. And so what that took at the beginning was creating a P&L, of all of these what ifs. What if digital's bigger? What if physical's bigger? What if the drug channel's bigger than, Amazon or whatever? And so we really had a view early on into saying, how would we build our business model? And frankly, our roadmap has changed, right, as we're listening to the consumer, but it allowed us to really have omnichannel in mind. We started on D2C, but then we really quickly got the attention of a few key retailers, and our very first partner was Target.
What does the kind of distribution channels look like today? And, how do you think about the breakdown of those channels?
Yeah. Target was such an important relationship at the beginning. And we always said the motto at Rae is fewer to be bigger with everything we do. We're not going to go too fast. We're going to listen to the consumer. We'll really understand what she's telling us and let her lead us there. But Target was kind of a really important one to get right. So we were exclusive with Target for a couple of years. And it was really important for us to understand the consumer. We're in 2 aisles at Target. We're in both the beauty and vitamins aisle. And so what is the right product portfolio in each aisle? On .com, what's the behavior? How do we think about our profit? And so we spent a lot of time understanding that business case. How incremental are we to the shelf? Where's trade happening across these brands? And so spent a lot of time understanding that business model. And then for us, based on those learnings, it led us to a couple of other retailers and a couple of other points of distribution that we're at today. We are at all Whole Foods. And so we launched that in early 22. And they've continued to add to the assortment. We're full chain there. It's just a remarkable partner there. We're starting to scale on Amazon. So that has been an amazing channel for us. And then we're at CVS, a smaller subset of stores in CVS. And now we just recently launched Walmart, which is huge. And that one's an interesting one because I never thought we'd go there as early in the journey as we did. But what we continue to hear from our community is, I love Rae and I want to buy it somewhere physically, with where my routines are, but I don't have a Target by me. And so for us, that was the next natural step. And when Walmart came to us, we said, absolutely, let's take the meeting and explore what could be.
And all incredible retailers. Does it, just come down to being everywhere your customer wants to shop? Or how do you think about both the different customers you reach in those different retail channels or, different digital channels And then, how you thought about, is it different at those different channels?
Yeah, it is all about who you're serving. And so for us at Rae, it's highly millennial, mostly those that identify as women today, and a very diverse group of folks, like I said, based on wellness needs, race, ethnicity, geography, zip code, a whole income. There's a whole host of pockets within our community that you try to identify, but at the end of the day, our ethos is for all. And so understanding that has taken a lot of work and a lot of listening and a lot of inferring from data, but also, what she's telling you via conversations on social. That's the most important thing. And then from there, you understand, okay, how do we make sure that we can continue to increase source of consumer, right? So you don't want to go from Target to Walmart with the exact same set of customers, and then they just trade from one retailer to the next. And so it needs to be incremental every choice you make. But it first starts with, who do we have today? Who, in those almost lookalikes, like we've got this pocket of folks today, how many more are there, in particular need states that you start to figure out a little bit more about their lives and follow that train. I will say it's not about being everywhere. It's about selling through, a lot of entrepreneurs at the beginning, and I'm so grateful to have known a little bit of this from retailer, but a lot of entrepreneurs focus on sell in. And they're like, I got the account. It's so good. That's just the beginning, selling through and making sure that you've got the right marketing flywheel and brand flywheel to deliver the sell through, not just the first PO is the most critical component of it.
What do you think Rae Wellness does to ensure that you have that successful sell-through?
We're really fortunate on our business model up front that we chose Omnichannel, and we launched 6 weeks prior to the pandemic. And so we were really reliant, especially for that first year when shelf discovery wasn't a thing. It still really isn't a thing, but really wasn't a thing. And physical, people weren't shopping physically. So we built up our digital flywheel. We built up our community. We built up our conversations and content with our community. And then it's interesting because then people started shopping physically again. iOS kind of threw the whole, digital landscape for a loop, but then we had some physical, we had some representation. And so for us, it was what we have been able to do really well is leverage digital as our foundation, but be able to make decisions across multiple channels to still deliver growth, but think about it profitably because we've got the levers to do so across digital and physical together.
Talked about was, using data. So you obviously have some, really powerful data from your D2C and your community. Curious, both where you're building that community. Is it social? Is it Facebook groups? Would love to hear about community. But then what are some of the sources of data that Rae Wellness uses to make those different decisions and, support your retail journey?
Yeah. It's ever changing. You nailed it. Like today it's all digital and social at the moment on where we're getting our data. There's some that comes from retail and some retailers give you more than others. Amazon has been a wealth of knowledge for us, in terms of what even keywords are and, competitive set and how to think about, some of the tactics that they're leveraging really smartly. We balance, like I said, all of that rich quantitative data. And I would say, you got to be 50-50 with qualitative and quantitative. And so I would say qualitative, what has been the most meaningful for me as a founder and the team is, there's been so many moments last year on TikTok specifically, which is a huge social channel for us. We've got 200,000, followers and we've got just an amazing engagement on that channel. Mm-hmm. One of the things that happened for us it started really in November of 22. There's this undertone of a community talking about stress. And for them, they were discussing all of the things in their lives that they had done to manage their stress, whether that be, different behavioral decisions, whether that be medical thing, there's a whole host of things, yoga, breathing, whatever. And they started talking about stress. And what had happened is a few of them really started talking about de-stress, which is one of our items. It helps calm the mind and fight mental fatigue. And so what happened was they started talking about they had never turned to supplementation. They'd never turned to supplements to help their stress. And so all of a sudden, a natural, proactive, ingestible, solution presented itself. And we absolutely blew up. Our sales, I will never forget, not only on that item, people just rushed to Target and Walmart and Amazon to just really, hone in on that item. But then what happens is that awareness, and then she buys another thing from you. And so why I'm saying this is that's qualitative that leads to quantitative. And for me, the most important part was understanding the why and why she was gravitating toward that product, and understanding she'd never even considered supplements for stress. Well, that's a whole different conversation to have with the community. And so that qualitative really led to us creating different conversations and engagements and content touch points with our broader group.
Really good example of leveraging both the data, and then something that you said in the beginning was around how you can leverage the trends to help be successful, and that is truly an example of that. Like, you saw the conversation happening through community and built on that because your product was a very, very obvious solution for a conversation that just existed in kind of the sphere of your customer base.
Yeah, it's been remarkable how much time I spend watching videos of our consumer, and then understanding not just what they're telling you, but why they're telling you what they're telling you is the important part to really, really suss out and understand.
A related point, you're across multiple different retail channels. You have D2C, you have Amazon. How do you think about the consistent end-to-end experience for your customer, from your brand across those different channels that, frankly, give you different data, different ability to kind of tell your brand story? How do you do that in the best way possible across those different channels?
It is not easy. It's such a good question. And if I had it all figured out, I would tell you. I'd let you know. We don't have it figured out. We will probably never have it figured out. I think one of the benefits we've had is, having a foundation, like I said, Target plus D2C. And then we wait for a couple of years. And then we add Whole Foods. And then we understand that. Like, for us, it's been really important for us to not just go broad quickly, but really think about layers of insights, right? And understanding, okay, when we did this, was it incremental? And when we did this, was it incremental? And when we talked about, Amazon being more ingredient forward as a search mechanism than even Google, as an example, like, how does that start to play in? And so I'm not saying we have it all figured out. We certainly do not have the entire consumer journey figured out. But what we do know is, these aren't her words, but this is the synthesis of her words. The number one thing she tells us is, I don't know what's wrong, but something isn't right with my business. And so that is kind of the guiding force across consistency across all channels. And that looks different on Amazon. How do we help her assess? Well, maybe she has a better understanding and she's searching for an ingredient. And maybe, as she's shopping the aisles at Walmart, she, some things happening, but she's just looking for a solution to feel better. Right. And so that being the kind of the guiding principle, it's like, how do you take that down in all the channels? I still don't know. We're testing and learning all the time, but there is this throughput of consistently what the brand is here to offer. Wellness shouldn't have to be a full-time job. It shouldn't have to be expensive. It should be for everybody. Very accessible messaging, but how that gets brought across is a continual work in progress.
Ask another here. So you mentioned that very early on, before it was even buzzy, you set yourself up as an omnichannel brand. What does that mean to you? And then also, how do you think about bridging the gap across all of those channels?
Omnichannel, to me, it's so hard, but omnichannel at its simplest to me means she will find you in 100 different ways, and she's going to convert in 100 different ways, right? And that could be physically, that could be digitally, that could be through partners, that could be manifested through shopping on Instagram, that could be manifested in a number of different ways. Omnichannel to me never meant D2C plus physical Whole Foods, right? So much broader. And the challenge with that over the last, we're 3 years old now, but the challenge over the last 3 years has been, how do you do that efficiently and profitably? Because, and how do you prioritize, right? She could find you 100 different ways. How do you focus on the 5? And she can convert 100 different ways, but how do you focus on the 3 and really make sure that the journey is as obvious as it can be? But let's be honest, everybody's journey is just so dramatically different. She finds you on TikTok and then she goes straight to the store. Or she sees you on the store and then she investigates you on the website and learns a little bit more. And then she checks out your Instagram and then maybe she buys directly from Instagram. So the journey is, this linear journey or this triangular funnel of marketing that it's just this hurricane right now is how we, how you make sense of that is such a work in progress for us and for everybody, I think.
That's a great definition, and I think it's well did. So, Angie, what is something that you are bold or passionate about?
It's so, I've got some random examples, but I would say as it pertains to wellness in this company, accessibility, and so much of wellness is built for the 1%. And what I mean by that is those that have unlimited time, resources, money, ability to really take care of themselves. And accessibility to me doesn't just mean price. It means a holistic relatability and understanding of our consumers' lives. As we think about broader wellness, and this isn't just Rae, it's something I'm passionate about more broadly and globally, even beyond the US, is everyone is wanting to put themselves on the priority list. But it's really hard. And at Rae, one of our mantras is, whether you're conquering the day or just making it through the week, we're here to support you. I think that's really accessible. And while we know wellness can't be a full-time job, it can't be expensive. The great thing about it, our community, is the diversity. And we wanted to create a brand that everybody saw themselves in. That's the definition of accessibility. For me, I feel like there is so much opportunity for that to transcend the US. And so what I'm passionate about is I cannot articulate why 20% of our traffic in some months are coming from very specific countries, other than a piece of our content resonated because women are finally thinking about the topics, or finally able to really, given their various situations, think about the topics that we are. And so for me, it's just really important that we think about it with a global lens and tackle it a little bit here and a little bit there, depending on where our mission takes us. But the reality is most people don't have access to proactive wellness solutions, ingestibles being a component of that. And so if we can do our job of helping to support that even in a small way, we're just at the beginning now.
That you take, as a wellness brand, and knowing that it's so easy, especially as a, high growth startup, to deprioritize yourself. Is there anything that you as a founder try to do within your company and at Rae Wellness, not just the brand, but the company, to reflect kind of that belief?
There's so many things, but I think yes, it is. It's so top of mind. I'm trying to think about how to respond to your question. I think, that mantra that I just said is whether you're conquering the day or just making it through the week, we're here to support you. Mm-hmm. That's human. And that's how the team operates. And so one small example of that is we've got a huddle every Monday with the whole team, and we start with a wellness check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where are you? And if you say a 1, and you don't even have to participate if you don't want to, but if you're a 1, that's okay. And if you're a 5, that's okay. If you're a 3, that's okay. And I always ask, it's not like, why are you a 1 or why are you a 5? What happened? It's, does anybody have anything they want to share? Because often, if I'm a 1, it just could be like my baby or my toddlers kept me up all night last night and I am exhausted. Heads up, people, right? But it's bringing that level of a wellness check into the company every single week. And if you're a 5, it could be, you just had something amazing happen over the weekend, and you don't have to share if you don't want to, But if there's anything, conquering the day or making it through the week that you do want to share with a team, I think it helps everybody understand why you're showing up how you are.
I think I might need to institute that into our weekly check-in. So thank you for sharing that, Angie. Okay, moving into our lightning round. What is your favorite omnichannel brand?
There's a lot at the moment, and she's a friend, Touchland. Have you heard of the Touchland, the hand sanitizer? She is doing an amazing job, and her team is just brilliantly navigating content and retail and how it all integrates, and frankly, the experience at retail in a number of ways. They're awesome.
Wow. Thing that you wish you could change about our industry?
The fact that 3% of all funding goes to women.
Fast.
I can't pick one. How I Built This, The Moth, The Daily, On Purpose with Jay Shetty, A Bit of Optimism with Simon Sinek. Those are just a few. There's a lot. Yes.
Favorite newsletter?
Morning Brew or Daily Insider.
Oh.
TikTok. I'm an audiobook person, but the one physical book that I read probably at least 2 times a year is 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. It is about, it's ancient Toltec wisdom about 4 principles to live your life, to be as authentic as possible. Said simply. It's bigger than that, but said simply.
Of course. Thank you. And then event that you're excited about going to this year? I'm going to events this year more and more. There's a few events that I'm keynoting or hosting panels at, but they're not yet announced. So I'll see you there. Okay, well, we'll have to look out for those announcements. Angie, where can people connect with you?
So the two big, we're at raewellness.co is our website. Our TikTok handle is RAE Wellness. And then on Instagram, we're at RAE4, F-O-R, Rae4 Wellness. Those are probably the easiest places.
Really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much for sharing more about your journey.
Thank you. This was fun.
If you liked this podcast, follow me and the Bridge page on LinkedIn and Twitter for hot takes and tactical advice. If you really loved today's episode, we'd love a review on the podcasting platform of your choice, Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Thanks for listening.